Hey, we're on.
All right. Nice to be with you, Chris.
Well, good afternoon, Rob. And we're here to kind of talk about, well, stuff you'd like to veer on regarding your new book, The Intuitive Within.
Yes.
Anything off the bat that comes to mind?
Intuitive Within is for you. But what do I mean by is it for you? It's something that is going to put focus back on the real you, the authentic you, the genuine you.
Okay.
I like to ask these people this one question to start off the book. What if I were to tell you that you could earn just as much, if not even more,
Yeah.
than you could from your 9-to-5 job doing stuff that you love?
Right.
Would that interest you? You tell me, Strix.
We've actually had this talk,
Yes.
but that's a beautiful question for people to ask themselves. When my version of that is, what if you could actually be living or making a living doing what you love?
Oh, just as good.
Yeah, and that echoes a sentiment I've had for the longest time. And when you actually asked me that nearby,
Yeah.
some time ago, what actually came to me was I'm quite happy that I'm actually already doing something I love.
And that's more power to you, because I love it when I hear about people like you and your own story. It's very inspiring because you're proof that there are intuitive withins out there. However, here's the thing. Some people don't have the luxury of the opportunity
Yeah.
you've had to realize that. Like, I have met so many people in my career as a tarot reader who say, oh, there's something they love.
Right.
They're not doing it at all because of something they don't love. It's like, I'd really love to paint, but I just
But.
can't. But.
Yeah.
And then I look at them and say, okay, why not? Well, I don't have time. I'm like, oh, really? What are you doing this weekend? Oh, nothing. Okay.
Right,
Another one,
right,
though,
right.
is that you actually see people who we call are victims of intuitive jailers. Now, what's an intuitive jailer?
Intuitive jailer.
Yes, or jailer
Okay.
in the intuitive. I come up to Strix, hey, Strix, I got this great idea.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to join the UFC. It's always been my dream to fight in mixed martial arts.
Okay.
And then what do most people say? You're crazy. You think you're going to do it? You think you're going to pull it off? And what happens? That dream, it fizzles out.
Right.
So the book actually lets you see that there are people who do that. And sometimes they're not the people you don't like or the people you hate, the people who are closest to you.
Quite often.
Yeah, and they use this term, well, it's for your own good. We're
Yeah.
trying to do what's best for you. But really, how is that what's best for you?
Right. And it can look completely to them like they're doing you a good.
When in fact they're not.
Yeah. And they may not, completely innocently, they may not see it at all.
And like I tell people in my sessions, which is, when they say that though, they're not talking to you.
Right.
They're talking to themselves.
Right.
Right? And what I like about this book is that it gives a very comprehensive approach to realizing what is you, what are your intuitive expressions, what are your intuitive truths, and what aren't. Because you also have to understand we have something called indoctrination.
Say that again.
Indoctrination, right?
I wonder where that is.
Oh yeah, well, you get that all the time. You get it in places like school and family. It's like this. At the end of the day, the book is just trying to bring out the most genuine you possible.
Right.
I mean, how many of us have been told, like example, by people who have no idea, oh, don't get a tarot card reading, it's bad. Really? Under what basis? And I will never know unless I experience it for myself.
Yeah, but it's scary.
Oh, it's scary. Yeah, you know what? There was also
and evil.
It's evil, yeah, but there was also
and
this
dark.
dark as well. But you know what? There's this thing before that it was so powerful that it can actually send a message from one end of the earth to the other instantly. And you know what they call it? They call it the internet. And people were saying the same thing at first, that this is this evil, bad thing that the Illuminati is going to use. Truth be told, now it's not.
It's not? Oh man.
No, but you know what, tricks to be told. Truth be told, the book will actually help you filter out your own personal truths, your own intuitive truths, and help you discover what is your intuitive expression.
Right.
How do you express yourself? Because these are two very valuable elements of the book. The intuitive truth, what you believe in at your core,
Right.
and your intuitive expression. What you want to do, okay? Because, example, I mean, as a doctor, you got a lot of people telling you, why are you wasting your time with that hypnosis stuff? It's all quackery, really? That's not that's not their personal truth, but it's yours. So what right do they have to call it quackery? Or sometimes they say, Robert, why are you doing this painting stuff. You know, there's no money in it. And I asked them, well, who said I'm doing it for the money to begin with?
Right, right. Is that thing that is that like a being and doing thing?
In some way,
those two things.
yeah, somewhat in some way, because the intuitive self is what I consider the true self undressed. I mean, like
Right.
in a perfect world, this is who you'd be, this is how you think, this is what you do.
Right.
However, we've been
Like
forced
who
by
you are and
who
how
you
you
are.
show up.
No, actually, who you are within. How
Right,
you show
right.
up is different because
It's
we
the
gotta
other thing.
wear all these different masks every day
Right, but in an ideal world.
in an ideal world.
Yes.
So the intuitive self or the intuitive within is the you under all of these costumes. Okay. However, in order to live life, we've been
Like
forced to
before the
compromise.
brainwash.
Before the brainwash, before the programmings, or like I say, before Batman lost his parents. Okay. Because I always use this as an example. Who would Bruce Wayne be if he didn't lose his parents? Think about that. And it's the same thing here. I mean, like, how many of you people wanted to become dancers, but you were told there's no money in that?
Yeah.
Good example. Remember the nursing boom?
Yeah.
Okay, as a medical practitioner, I'm sure you know that. The nursing boom was something that found so many new nurses in the field. And if it was your dream and bliss to become a nurse, then I salute you. But if you did it for the very, very shallow reason of, well, it's good money and I get to leave the country, then I'm
Which
like,
is a lot of people.
which is a lot of people, then I'd say, well, you know what? Then the nursing thing for you should be a temporary thing, but it cannot be the be-all and end-all.
Right.
And one thing people miss out on is that they don't create an exit strategy.
Tell me about that.
Example, I say, okay, yeah, I'm going to work for this crappy 9-to-5 job for Demon Corp, right? The problem is they don't set specifics as to how long am I going to be here and what do I need.
Right.
Because instead they just go into this corner and then they just forget about themselves. And next
Right.
thing you know, 1 year became 30 years. And
Right.
that dream of being a writer, that dream of becoming a black belt, the dream of being a singer, it's gone.
This happened to a lot of the same people you speak about in nursing.
Exactly.
They didn't have an exit strategy and they figure I'll do this for a while and then do what I like. But the money comes in and then it's kind of okay and this will do and you know, life overcomes them.
What happens, they get swallowed by the most dangerous thing in the world. You know what
Which
that
is?
Comfort.
Wow.
Comfort is the most dangerous thing in the world. You know why? When you're comfortable, you're not moving. When you're desperate, you're moving. You're moving away from pain. And when you're happy, you're moving towards pleasure. But comfort, you're stuck in between.
Right.
Okay, and this is what kills people. You see, a lot of people say, well, you know, I'll wait till I'm retired to do what I love. It's like, really? I don't like that word. Why can't you do it now? So, well, let's say, what about writing? Who says you can't just sit down right now and write? No one said you need to focus the rest of your life on it. But this book also shows you a smart way of going about doing this. There's a very important chapter in the book that we call Intuitive Transition. Okay, and think of it like this. Let's say out of nowhere, Strix wanted to become a chef. So, you know, I'm tired of all this medical and mental stuff. I'm done with it. I just want to be a chef. Now, what would happen if you dropped it all and just started cooking tomorrow?
Right.
Who would pay your bills?
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
So what
right.
happens? If you just cold turkey jump from one thing to another, you're actually doing it wrong because you're not transisting.
Right.
Right? You're actually going to put yourself in a scenario where you're going to fail and you might lose momentum, and because of that, you're going to stop whatever it was you're doing because you're going to think it was hopeless.
Right, right.
You have to slowly build up to it until we get what we call intuitive equipose, which is basically where you're
Intuitive
equipose.
Equipulse.
Equipose. You
Oh, equipose. Okay.
What is that? That means that whatever it is your intuitive expression is, it earns just as much or greater than whatever your drudge work is. So if you don't want to work at a call center and your intuitive expression is painting, then do not leave the call center job until your paintings are earning equal to or greater than whatever it is you're getting from the call center.
Right.
Because-
Hence, exit strategy.
Exit strategy, exactly. So that's just what we're going through here. We're teaching people how to make an exit strategy of their life, and then we're going to also show them the cost of success.
Tell me about that.
How many people in this how many men in this world want to date a supermodel?
You know, I'm not sure.
I don't think we
I
can
would
count
imagine
with
quite a few.
I don't think we can count the biggest calculator in the world, but how many of them are ready for a supermodel? How many of them, if given a supermodel right now, could handle that kind of a relationship? Or for a more or less chauvinistic way, I ask this question. How many people say they want to be president?
Okay.
But how many people can actually pull it off if they were president right now?
Ah.
That's what we call cost of success.
Okay.
Some people think that what they want is just a flowery rose with no thorns. But the truth is, even the thing that you want the most will have its cost. It will have its repercussions. It will have its headaches. Like if I say I want to be the next Tony Stark, then I better be ready for the fact that I'm caffeinated 99% of the time and I'm borderline ADHD. Okay? Because there's just so much going on. So when you ask for something from the universe, you have to also prepare yourself to be ready for it.
Right. This echoes something we did in storytelling class. The story of Bobby McFerrin strangely comes to mind.
Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, be happy guy. Quite fascinatingly, he's a genius, an almost mystical genius of musical talent. And what struck me most that echoes what you just said is that he asked himself the question. I kind of reverse engineering this, but to me, he asked himself the question, what kind of man would I have to be to have this woman follow me wherever I go? Because there was this point in time when he had to transfer to someplace cold, and well, his wife's a Latina.
Okay,
Ain't no way, no how. But what she said when she was asked, I don't get it. Why are you going with him? Well, he's Bobby. Bobby do what Bobby want, and where Bobby says, I go. So the question was, what kind of man would I be to have this wonderful, magnificent woman go with me on my crazy outings? And that echoes what you're expressing. Does that kind of feel of the same vibe?
Yeah, it does, because that actually gives you a realistic approach for it. Because the one thing, because you know I'm heavy into metaphysics. The one thing you can do to the universe that'll really piss it off at you, which it can be, is that you ask it for something. When you give it, you're not thankful. Okay? You ask the universe for a date with Katy Perry, and you pray for it, you meditate, you fast, you sacrifice chickens, whatever it is you do, and when you finally get that date, you chicken out. Or you can't handle it, or oh my God, I never wanted her to begin with. I mean, it's like, hey, you asked for it. You have to have a realistic outlook on what you're asking for in this universe. That's why this book helps you say, okay, let's say you become the founder of your own wellness center. Are you ready for the reality that comes with it? Are you ready for the books, for the taxes, for the staff, for the inventory? Because if you're not ready for those things, then when your wish comes true, you're going to hate it.
Right.
I'm sure you get this a lot with your hypnosis clients. Oh, I asked for something and now that I have it, I don't think I really want it anymore.
But they haven't checked with what we call the ecology of it.
Exactly.
Right.
So they're not prepared to claim it. They're not prepared for the negative of it. So they end up just hating it. And that ends up putting you back into a semblance of conformity where after a while, you don't want to do it anymore. You just go back to your comfort zone.
Right. Because I wasn't prepared to do the work and to become the person that it took to handle this new reality I was asking.
Exactly.
That's kind of a horrible place to be.
Yeah, and that's why the universe listens. I mean, I'm all for the law of attraction, the secret. And what you ask for is what you get. Simple as that. I mean, like, I'll go on record and I say this. Many years ago, there was this woman I discovered, and I flipped out over her. I was younger and stupider. And I used all of my willpower to manifest this person in my life. Little did I know that she was mentally kind of loose screwed. And I guess I wasn't being realistic about what I was asking for from the universe because I assumed she was going to be a normal person, but she had mental issues. So, be careful what you wish for, guys.
I hear you mentioning the secret and a lot of metaphysics, and yet our discussion veers on the very practical. Like for me, it actually echoes a lot of Tim Ferriss's 2009 4-hour work week.
Yes, very much.
And an escaping from the nuttiness of the stuck world.
I guess the book would be a reverse to the 4-hour work week. You know why?
Tell me about that.
In the 4-hour work week, he's actually talking about...
Oh, you've read this as well.
Yeah, of course. In the 4-hour work week, he's talking about what are you going to do for the 4 hours for work. So what are you going to do with the remaining 36? Right? So we should call this the 36-hour day off. So in other words, you don't need to necessarily fill up your time with things you don't want to do anymore. So what are you going to do with your life then?
Right. Actually, if you look at what Tim Ferriss is actually doing, he's not actually spending 4-hour days. It's like getting to the 4-hour work week was so that he could do more.
Exactly.
And if you look at the premise, it's actually to free up more to do more of what you actually like. So
this-
you're kind of
I'm on the other end. So now that you got the free time, what do you want to do?
yeah. What do you actually want to do?
Exactly. And I mean, I've told people about this as a reader. You need to be prepared for every form of criticism, insult, and mockery you'll get. Because, example, as a reader, as a tarot reader, when I lived in the province, some people who were really close to me said, you know what, Robert, stop it with this tarot crap. You're never going to get anywhere with it. There's no money. You're weird, this and that. Might as well just give it up. I mean, if you can't do it here, you'll never do it in Manila. And now, I mean, I look at what I've built because of that, and I realize it was because I was passionate about it.
Right.
That it turned into something else. It's because my motivation wasn't just money. Because you'll see something different. And Stanford did an actual study a couple years ago that said the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, they put up businesses not because they want to make money, but because they're passionate about something.
Right. Right.
Because that's what's going to make you go in for the extra hour. That's what's going to make you go the extra mile. I mean, you could, if you want to have easy money, then put up a fishball stand. All right, but
Right.
are you really passionate about fish balls?
Right, right.
Because if you are, then fine. If not, then
This perfectly echoes a notion we have in the Dunn methodology, where it's the difference between being burned and you're just trying to get away from the fire, versus being a rocket and you've got that internal fuel, where you don't need to be burned to keep going for what you want. And since you've got that internal fuel, since you really, really want it, that's the kind of person who succeeds.
exactly.
Regardless the odds.
And be careful what people say, because they're going to say you're obsessed. They're going to say you're myopic. They're going to say whatever they want to say about you. Don't let anyone get in the way. What you see, when I put up Mysterium Philippines, I met a lot of opposition, and I said to people simply, this was years ago, around 2005.
Right.
The one thing I said, if you are not with me, shut up. I don't need to hear it, okay? In Mysterium now there's a policy, which is if you don't like the cooking, if you criticize the cooking, you better be ready to cook, okay?
Fair.
In other words, if you don't like what we're doing, if you don't like how we're doing certain things,
Help us do it better.
you better do it better or keep your mouth shut. And it's the same thing in your intuitive truth. It's like, don't give me reasons why I shouldn't publish the book. Give me reasons why I should do it and what could make it better.
Right,
Okay?
right.
And play with that area, because anybody who's trying to slow you down, they're just going to steal your power.
Hear ya.
And here's the sad thing about it. Sometimes it comes from the most unexpected of places.
It quite often will.
Wives, girlfriends, siblings, parents, best friends.
Sometimes all in one person.
Exactly. A wife, sibling.
No, one person with both wives and girlfriends.
I get it. And the truth be told, you got to be careful with that, because if you don't get obsessed about it, if you don't have something we call audacity, you're never going to get it. I mean, one example I use in the book, Barack Obama. Okay, Strix, go on record with me. How many people do you think said that there will never be a black American president?
I don't know.
Before his time, I remember I met this crabby old Republican lawyer once in the States, and he said, mark my word, there will never be a black American president.
Because it just doesn't seem possible
Yeah, it's
at the time.
impossible, right?
Yeah.
And I wish I could have seen him after Inauguration Day to say, hey, eat this. You know what I mean? Because what did Barack Obama do? He knew he was going against this gigantic collective energy. And you know what he said? Basically, he gave it the finger. He said, impossible nothing. That's why I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you cannot deny what the man accomplished. I'm not talking about his policies. I'm talking about the fact that he took the definition of impossible and threw it out the window. Okay? Because he had something, audacity. He chose to act. How many people do you think told him it was impossible?
Right.
Same thing. So how many people would tell you it's impossible that you become a professional painter? Okay, that doesn't stop you from painting. Think of it this way. Another one too is J.K. Rowling's story, which I really love.
Okay.
Where she sent her manuscript to so many people and rejected and rejected and
Right.
rejected. I'm willing to bet these people who rejected it are really feeling stupid right now.
Right.
Because at the end, it was a luck scenario where a publisher from Scholastic agreed to publish it.
Yeah.
And the publisher or the book agent even said, you know what, it's not that good, don't quit your day job.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, exactly. So in one good book that I read, which was called Unlabeled by Mark Echo, he says, know the difference. You got to read this book, bro.
Yeah.
Know the difference between the gatekeepers and the end consumers.
Okay.
Because the gatekeepers will think they know what everybody wants.
Right,
the
right,
end
right.
consumers will be the one to decide. Just like if we looked at the polls a couple months ago, they would have said Duterte didn't have a chance of winning. Apparently, the end consumers felt differently about that.
Right. Again, the strong difference between what you think seems to be how things are and the experience of it.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And you know, the point about this book is this. If at the end of the book, you picked up the pen, or you bought the paint set, or you enrolled in your jiu-jitsu class, or you started singing again, even if you did it once, the book was a success. All right?
Fair.
If we just reactivated it, and I'm not saying do it 9 to 5, just start.
Yeah.
And if that becomes relevant in your life again, then my words were perfectly expressed.
Right. And not a moment was wasted in your putting together. I imagine it must have been quite a number of man-hours to do this.
Believe it or not, I'll share with you a story about that one. That came out pretty quickly. 6 months.
Wow, it's one of those.
Because I gave up on writing.
Okay.
Because my first book didn't do the way as well as I wanted to. I mean, the analogy I use is this. My first book I prepared for 7 years.
This is your second, right?
Second book.
Yep.
First book was Defensive Occultism. I won't lie about it. I'm an advocate in fiction out of the occult. And I wrote a handbook on supernatural self-defense.
Right.
Because I always get questions, how do I protect myself, right? So I spent 7 years creating that book and went through a lot of hurdles. On the launch day, I didn't get the result I wanted. I mean, I only sold 4 copies. It was kind of dry. I felt really dejected. So afterwards, I felt burnt. I said, I don't think I'm ever going to write again. All right. The analogy I used was for the first launch, it was like you train 7 years for a jiu-jitsu match, only for you to come and nobody fights against you. You get the gold by default. It's kind of like a Pyrrhic victory. So I kind of convinced myself I'm done with this. Then one day I was reading the tarot for a student of mine, and she told me about this really good book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way.
Okay.
Which is basically a book that will help you rediscover your self-creativity.
Right, I've actually seen this one.
It's a very good book, gotta get it, okay? And then the 2 books that really influenced my work was The Artist's Way and Unlabeled by Mark Echo. So there's exercises there that you're supposed to do every morning so that after 12 weeks you should be able to reignite that inspiration or creativity in you. And funny thing was, on the 11th week, I stopped doing the exercises because I started writing the intuitive within.
Hey!
So it worked. It worked.
And we're kind of hoping that same thing for your readers.
Oh yeah.
When they start this book,
they
might have that feeling, that opportunity, that experience, that chance to ignite.
And part of it too, we want to actually get an intuitive within community going on. People. We're already finalizing the official intuitive within course that we're going to be offering to people who they want to learn, if they want to know, if they want to have first-hand guidance in the exercises,
right?
And they want to have a support group,
right?
Because the best thing you can have is a group of people who say you can do it,
right?
Versus a group of people saying it's impossible,
right? I already imagine that the course is going to be quite remarkably like the book in that, to me, this is like a whole chain and a whole web of questions.
Yeah.
And on my first read of it, I loved it for that. And on my second read, still when I go through your book, it's the questions which pop out for me. And these are very practical questions for somebody that most would peg to like the mystic sciences.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you to such a set of practical questions?
Experience. Just here's the thing. I had the honor of observing my wife's own intuitive transition. She used to work in sales, and now she teaches yoga and does Reiki for a living.
Close.
So she really loves what she does, and she has her own time, and it's just amazing for her. And I observed that from her being stuck in a very, I like to say, dead-end job that she wasn't happy in because she was not. Now she's doing what she loves for a living.
Was she leaning towards these things before you were together?
She had a slight interest, but when we got together, she dove into it. So I like to say she even
That worked out well.
yeah, thankfully. I mean, I always wanted that. But the one thing I've observed was that was one scenario I had, even with myself too. So,
Right.
in other words, the book was meant to leave breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? A breadcrumb trail. In
Oh,
other words,
yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
want to do
yeah,
the same thing?
Yeah.
Because I work for the government, okay?
Okay.
And for 3 years, I worked for the government, and I remember, come the third year point, I was just so mentally burnt out, and it wasn't because I was overworked, it's because I was underutilized, okay?
Oh,
And you know what that's like.
yeah.
So what
Yeah,
ended
yeah,
up
yeah,
occurring
yeah, yeah.
was
Yeah.
unconsciously or subconsciously, my body was already rebelling to it because, like, I remember one day I was told that we were going to have an unexpected holiday the next day.
Okay.
But there won't be office tomorrow because of the president declared holiday. And in the middle of the meeting, I just started crying in front of everyone. I mean, like, my unconscious mind coup d'etat against my consciousness and took over the body. And I said to myself, oh my God, I mean, I'm really miserable here. And what further occurred was this. At the very end, when our office was closed, I wasn't terminated. When we were informed, okay, starting January 2011, the office is going to be closed. We're not going to be employed here anymore. You'd have people in the office crying, worried about how they're going to earn money. Sarah was 6 months pregnant at the time with our firstborn. The very first words to come out of my mouth were, "Oh, thank God." Really, I mean, I couldn't understand it. And I just had this gusto in me to say, no, I'm going to go Mysterium full time. I'm going to do things with my tarot. I'm going to, because the thing that I did smart
This was her wake-up call.
yeah, the thing that I did smart was throughout the last year and a half, I was already transitioning. I mean, from 9 to 5 I was at the job, but from
Right.
5 to 10 I was with clients. I was giving lessons Saturday,
Right, right.
Sunday. So, but when the actual end came for my job, I was already floating. So since then, that's just been what I've been doing, and
You're
I'd like-
already doing what you had in mind that you're sharing with readers in this book.
exactly, and I'm just letting people know that you can do it as well.
The
Now,
transition.
The transition. Now, there's one thing about it. Some people, well, you know what, I mean, and I'm sure you get this in hypnosis, like, I'm kind of shy to charge, right? You get this one, right? You have your students, they say this.
This happens surprisingly often.
And I tell them, I said, okay, you're going to do it for free. People aren't going to value what you do.
This is a sad truth.
So you have to have the audacity, even to start as a low premium, to say, okay, you know what, I'm not the best hypnotist. You want the best hypnotist, go to Strix, okay? But I am starting my practice, and I'm doing it professionally, so can we agree upon this rate?
Yeah.
Okay, and then from there, you just keep doing it until you realize, hey, you know what, I think I have enough value and enough demand, I can increase the rate further.
Right. Quite often, that very thing you're speaking of, that increasing of the rate, quite often that tends to be an intuitive judgment.
Exactly.
As I hear from some of the world's best coaches that I'm working with now, it just seems right to charge more for my time. I'm worth more.
Exactly, because it all depends on your accomplishments in the field. I mean, like, as a reader, okay, some people say, okay, Robert, we know your rate, but so and so is also charging the same amount. And then I don't even worry about it, because have they done for tarot what I have? Do they have the name I have? I mean, I'm considered one of the best in the country by many. I don't know if I am, but I am. So the question is this: if some newbie who just took a course on Etsy is charging as much as I am in a tarot reading, it's like, you know, you're not going to get the same kind of clients I do, because at least you can say, hey, name is trusted versus who the hell are you? Okay, you need to work within what people are willing to risk.
Kind of in general, speaking about every single specialization that there happens to be, you got to wonder about these things.
Exactly, because it's dangerous. Because some people just look at the money aspect. Oh, I'm going to charge 5K. I mean, you have to understand that when you set a certain financial side to what you're doing, you have to put yourself up against the big dogs. So if you're going to say, okay, I'm a reader, I'm going to charge 3,000, then you better be able to justify why the hell are you charging more than Rob? Why are you charging more than Sandy, who've been doing this 10, 20 years?
Wow.
Now, of course, if you are like one of the best in the country or in the world, then maybe you have the right to do that. But if not, you know, sometimes overpricing yourself will just work against you, because they say, hey, I spent more for this dude, and the quality was beneath it. I could have gotten Rob or Strix for less.
Right.
So, you know yourself.
This to me, I'm pretty sure with your depth of experience in this, the crappiness certain aspects of our industry. I'm sure you've gotten this where bargain hunters end up with a bad deal because they choose on the basis of price.
Exactly. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, but here's the danger that I've seen, and I'm sure you'll see this. To me, the danger of being a bargain hunter, where you look for things based on the price, is two-sided. They look for a bargain, so they get the cheapest one. And unfortunately, well, quality is usually at par with whatever value seems natural. And then there's the opposite side, where since they're looking at things from the basis of cost rather than true value, what ends up happening is that they can be fooled by something that costs more.
Aspirational marketing, yeah.
With the illusion
Just
that
because it's more expensive.
Just because it's more expensive, they think it's automatically worth more.
It's borderline hypnotherapy, actually. It's hypnotizing yourself. Because think of it this way, okay? Let's say the great Karsten came here for a certification course in hypnotherapy, 6 days, and we spend X.
Right.
Okay? Then somebody else who nobody knows, so we don't really know much about, they come in and they offer a 6-day or even a 3-day hypnotherapy course, but it's at X times 2.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're not doing any contribution to your practice by doing that, because what it does is it labels you as a con artist. And the sad part about it is that stigma will transfer also to those who were not conning. And that's why sometimes I tell people, don't be too zealous with pricing yourself to the heavens.
Yeah, they've turned it into a tool. I see this happen often where people are actually... Personally, I have no idea how much anybody else charges. I don't look at, when people compare what we charge as fees at the clinic, then they ask, Doc, how do the other people charge? Or I hear my patients tell me how much other people charge. And I go, oh yeah? Because I have no idea what other people charge. But what often happens is people are just one-upping each other.
Yeah. It becomes very cutthroat.
It's become a technique, and it's dark marketing.
Yeah.
And it's just the illusion that something costs more because it was harder to get.
Yeah, that's what my attorney calls aspirational marketing.
Right.
Just because you add so many zeros after the training, there'll always be one or two suckers. But what ends up in the end is that you just lose consumer confidence.
Fair.
I mean, in the long run, people will just say, you know what, I'm not interested in it, and you're doing more harm than good. That's why, like I said, a semblance of humility is always there. Because when I teach my tarot students how to market themselves, I always tell them, the price per reading has to be worth your time, but you also have to know you deserve it. Because I can say, okay, Strix, can I ask for one 30-minute hypnotherapy session? I'll give you 250,000 pesos for it. I mean, you wouldn't say no, you're not an idiot, but you'd also have this conscience of, you're like, huh? One session, 250,000? What, are you trying to expel a demon or something? Versus if I said, okay, would you be willing to do a hypnotherapy session for me for 25 pesos? Be like, are you freaking kidding me? You see what I mean? So you'll be able to find a median which is worth your time, it's worth your appearance, at the same time, it's enough to consider you professional.
Right. And for people who are trying to figure out how to sort things, because I do know some people who really are of... these industries of ours, they attract quite a number of people who are just very willing, very giving, very sharing, and it's kind of that same spirit that causes them to think, maybe I shouldn't charge, or maybe people are right, I should give it away for free.
No, because here's the thing, when it comes to doing stuff for free, you will get burnt out. You will experience an intuitive burnout. You will learn to hate what you love, and then you will become depressed. Okay, Joker's law. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yeah, I find that personally true in like the other set of industries we move in for workshops and for seminars and talks and for coaching. When you give away something for free, people who show up tend not to value it enough, tend not to even invest the attention it takes to get the most magic out of the magic that you already bring.
Because it
ends up horribly for everyone.
Yeah, and it's the people feel entitled. They don't respect your time. They don't respect your limitations.
And quite frankly, it devalues the entire trade.
Exactly. So that being said, if you love your practice, never make it for free. I mean, there will always be an exchange. I mean, like, if it was your birthday and you wanted a reading, then fine, the exchange was a year of friendship with you. That's my way of giving it to you. But making it the norm that you're doing things for free, you will not last. You will not last. Because I can't go to Moralco and say, I'll give you loving kindness instead.
Right.
I mean, they're just going to laugh at me. So you have to show respect to your practice. In our tarot course, for example, the very first rule you're taught on the first lesson is, thou shalt not free. Okay? Thou shalt not free. Okay? Simply because at the beginning of the course, they're already entitled to start reading professionally, even in a minuscule level.
Okay.
But it is not for free. But we make it affordable. We make it reasonable.
Right.
Like for the first day, we tell them, okay, now that you have these set of techniques, practice it for the next 6-7 days so that you get competency. The starting energy exchange is 50 pesos.
Yeah.
Or a cup of coffee or a tiny snack.
Well, give it a go.
I'll give it a go. Now, the thing is this. They give me all this crap sometimes. Like, well, what if they don't want to pay 50 pesos? Then give them the bird and walk away. It's 50 bucks, no loss.
Right. And people have this fear, like, what if they don't?
Exactly. Then
don't. What's the point?
And then they also ask me this other question, like, well, what if the people around me are born again Christian or something? They said, you don't sell meat to vegetarians. It's simple as that. Know who you're marketing it to.
All of these things that we've talked about so far, including the things about value and waking up, lighting that flame to the intuitive within, we seem to me to be echoing a theme of authenticity.
Yes. Truth.
In this entire conversation.
Yeah, truth. It's all about truth. I mean, it's become so strong for me that I have had to make certain judgment calls based on my own intuitive within. That recently one particular political figure wanted a tarot reading. They were willing to pay well. But this was a figure I did not believe in. And I'm not at all. And I don't care how much money was spent. I mean, the money's the money. But I said, I cannot deny my intuitive truth and read for you. I'm sorry. I'm personally, maybe you're an okay person, but I don't believe in what you've done. I don't believe in your personality. I don't believe in your message. Hence, I cannot sell myself short and let you have this reading. So I have to say no.
Right. You can be a 220 appliance. Why charge yourself on a 110?
Exactly.
This has been extremely fun. Rob, before we go, I'm just kind of curious. On top of your book, if there were like a companion book to your book, what would you recommend to people listening?
Oh, wow. Unlabeled by Mark Echo.
Yes, I've heard that. The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron. Book Yourself Solid. I forgot who wrote it. Book Yourself Solid. Very good on that sales and booking yourself aspect. And
the getting clients side.
Getting clients and, the packaging of everything, very good book. And lastly, of course, just for some esoteric side to it, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. I especially like that stage before he, personally for me, got more pop and more mainstream. I quite particularly like how that would fit this.
It would. Because, like he says, if it's if you ask for it, the universe will give it to you. So it just kind of lines in with what we're discussing. And also inviting everybody to my fan page, facebook.com/theintuitivewithin.
Right.
I put videos there regularly, and our official website, www.intuitivewithin.com.
Right. One last question before we speed off, Rob. Is there, if you were to choose just one ritual, habit, or practice, and where this is coming from is the whole notion of finally getting things done, of focus, of being productive, of being significant, of being of true impact on yourself, in your world, and on yourself tomorrow, and in the days to come, on our little fair blue earth. Is there a ritual, like a practice or a habit, just one that you would love for people to take up, even as they sit down with this book?
Never be ashamed of your truth.
And in terms of like a practice, what would you recommend them to try?
Celebrate your truth. Just let the world know it. You don't have anything to hide in your truth.
Right.
Even if here's the thing, insecurity.
Like on a practical day-to-day, what would you like them to try?
Talk about your intuitive truth or expression every day.
Talk about
just do it. So if your intuitive truth is painting, paint. If your intuitive truth is writing, write. And talk to people about writing. And talk to writers.
So
Immerse
express yourself
yourself.
not just for yourself, but share of your passion.
Exactly.
Very beautiful, Rob. It's been fun. Thanks for introducing the intuitive within to us all again.
Honor is all mine, Strix.
Hey,
Thank you.
hey.